you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms, X and Instagram and Threads and Spill. Uh, Follow me on all the platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. That's DrNiiQuartelai. Pro tip, just type in Dr. Nee and boom, bam, boom. I pop right on up. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And like magic, there we are for your listening pleasure. I always have to whisper that because Alexa is near me and will pick up on my voice like she just did. Oh my goodness. Also, when you download the app, be sure to use the open mic feature, and that way you can leave me a voice memo. That way I can listen to you, get your take on some of the day's headlines. Maybe it's something I said, something that one of our listeners said. We want to make sure that we're also amplifying your voice. And so be sure to do that. And last but not least, subscribe to a More Perfect Union podcast. That way you never, ever, ever miss an episode. Now, happy National Librarian Day. I don't know about you, but I love libraries. Libraries and museums, I've always been a big fan. And our librarians, they're under a lot of pressure these days. And so let's just take a moment to remember that librarian that might have made a difference when we were in school, or, might have co-created a very memorable moment with us when we were in school, or maybe we're still in school. Anyway, let's celebrate the librarians among us. Thank you for being just incredible resources to us and helping us to discover our love for reading, for writing, for adventures that are only a book away. Now, with that, on to our National News Roundup. It's time for the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off, Courier Newsroom is reporting that the Supreme Court effectively ended constitutional protections for mass protests in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. Under the lower court decision, a protest organizer faces potentially ruinous financial consequences if a single attendee at a mass protest commits an illegal act. There is so much more analysis that is that's coming out on this, but this is what you need to know. The Supreme Court announced this just yesterday, that it will not hear McKesson versus Doe. The decision not to hear McKesson leaves a lower court's decision in place that effectively, again, eliminated the right to organize a mass protest in the state of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. Now, under the lower court decision, a protest organizer can face some really serious financial consequences. It is possible that this outcome will be temporary. The court did not embrace the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit decision attacking the First Amendment right to protest, but it did not reverse it either. And that means that, at least for now, the Fifth Circuit's decision is the law in much of the American South. And so, again, that's Courier Newsroom and Vox reporting that. Speaking of First Amendment rights, campus crime is spiking to pre-pandemic levels. I should say, speaking of what's happening on college campuses, as students return to college campuses across the United States, so did campus crime. Data shows alarmingly that some parents are so alarmed by this that they have hired their own security forces. Can you imagine that? They raised more than $40,000 to hire private security at the University of California, Berkeley, much to the chagrin of campus administrators. Half a dozen unarmed guards patrolled the campus for more than 2 weeks in March, according to Sagar Jithani, a father of two Berkeley sophomores involved in the effort, a month after Jithani dropped off his kids for their freshman year in October 2022. There was a fatal shooting near their dorm. And he told sources that that was a real rude awakening. And so while we're seeing evidence that crime is dropping in many big cities across the country, there is still cause for concern, particularly on college campuses, as we're seeing crime is spiking to pre-pandemic levels. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's happening on college campuses in just a moment. But in Trump news, the Grio is reporting that Trump, who denigrated Black men, is eyeing young Black men as jurors in his sex scandal trial. We can't make this stuff up. Defense attorneys representing Donald Trump in his historic hush money criminal trial in New York City are reportedly seeking young Black male jurors who they believe could be persuaded to acquit the former president. As the New York Times reported just on Sunday, the Republican presidential candidate's lawyers are, quote, hoping to spot sympathizers and will focus on younger Black men and white working class men. Critics have told our friends over at the Grio that the Trump defense team's strategy will likely not yield results, at least not the results that they're hoping for, as the real estate mogul and star of The Apprentice turned commander-in-chief has built a career on denigrating Black men. Trump is not only trying to woo over Black male voters, but he's also trying to woo over Black male jurors. We'll see how that works out for him. Speaking of the courts, a federal judge has found that LA city officials doctored records in a case over homeless camp cleanups. The LA Times is reporting that a federal judge has found that Los Angeles city officials altered evidence to support the city's defense against allegations that it illegally seized and destroyed homeless people's property. Warning that the city will likely face sanctions following a forensic examination, the U.S. District Judge wrote in an order that the city had not only, quote, altered, modified, and created documents relevant to the plaintiff's claims, but it also failed to produce legitimately requested documents. According to the court filings, records documenting what was taken during these cleanups and the legal authorization of the seizures were altered or created up to 2 years after the cleanup occurred, and in some instances, just days before they were turned over to the plaintiffs. In some records, the word bulky item was replaced by health hazard or contaminated after the judge had ruled the city's law prohibiting bulky items unconstitutional. So we'll continue to follow this, as goes California, as goes the nation. And, LA City and a number of other cities across the state have been struggling to address homelessness in a comprehensive way. In fact, in the last mayoral election, that was, what Angelino said was the number one issue. But how we go about it in a way that is both constitutional and is respectful of the dignity of the unhoused among us, that's also something for us to pay attention to. In other news that folks are paying a lot of attention to, especially in the orbit of my alma mater, the University of Southern California, LA Times also reporting that, citing safety concerns, USC cancels a pro-Palestinian valedictorian's graduation speech, saying, quotes, tradition must give way to safety. USC on Monday made the unprecedented move to cancel the upcoming graduation speech of an undergraduate valedictorian, and it's come under fire for pro-Palestinian views. At least that undergraduate has come under fire for her pro-Palestinian views. The move, according to USC officials, is the first time the university had banned a valedictorian from the traditional chants to speak on stage at the annual commencement ceremony, which typically draws more than 65,000 people to the Los Angeles campus. In a campus-wide letter, USC Provost Andrew T. Guzman cited unnamed threats that have poured in shortly after the university publicized the valedictorian's name and biography this month. Guzman said attacks against the student for her pro-Palestinian views have reached an alarming tenor and have escalated to the point of creating substantial risk related to security and disruption at commencement in May. After careful consideration, we've decided that our Student valedictorians will not deliver a speech at commencement. There is no free speech entitlement to speak at a commencement. The issue here is how best to maintain campus security and safety, period. Now, the student, whom the letter does not name, is a biomedical engineering major. I think I'm pronouncing this right, Asna Tabassum. USC officials chose Tabassum from nearly 100 student applicants who had GPAs of 3.98 or higher. What you should also know, there are sources that say that Tabassum's degree is in biomedical engineering, but her minor is in resistance to genocide. That's the minor that she's getting from USC. That's the education that she had at USC that folks are not talking about. And so we're going to talk about this and more. We're going to get the reaction from Dr. Melina Abdullah. You know her as one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter Grassroots. She is also co-founder of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles, and she was recently named as the VP pick to Dr. Cornel West's independent campaign for President of the United States. We have her here with us to react to this and so many more headlines that are trending today. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
I'm a waitress, so I know the difference between regular shoes and Skechers slip-resistant work shoes. Skechers slip-resistant work shoes make my job go like this. Here's your pasta primavera.
Thanks.
While regular shoes make my job go like this. Here's your pasta prima... Whoa! And that difference is why I wear Skechers slip-resistant work shoes to keep me safe on my feet. Plus, they're easy to clean and have Skechers exclusive air-cooled memory foam for comfort throughout my shift. Get America's #1 selling work shoe at Skechers.com, a Skechers store near you, or wherever work shoes are sold.
You can do it all by yourself, baby girl. What's your name? Let me talk to you. Let me buy you a drink.
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Are you facing an unexpected financial emergency? You need WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com can help you get up to $3,000 fast. WeFixMoney.com is free to use, available 24/7, and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Go to the name you trust, WeFixMoney.com. If you need emergency cash up to $3,000 for bills or anything else, type WeFixMoney.com directly into your browser. That's WeFixMoney.com.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and delighted to welcome back to the show our friend, our fellow colleague here on KBLA, who is now the VP candidate on the Cornel Abdullah ticket for President and Vice President of the United States. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Melina Abdullah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Isn't this something, huh?
I'm telling you, look, if we started the year saying one of us was going to be running for Vice President of the United States, I'm sure both of us might have looked the other way.
I would have thought it was you before me. I think Dr. West also feels the same way. I don't know if you've ever heard him say, "You'll catch me in the crack house before you catch me in." I don't think he planned to run either, but I think it's a time where this is absolutely necessary. And your headlines lift that up, right?
That's right. And so I want to get your reaction. You are one half of the Cornel West, Melina Abdullah ticket for President, Vice President of the United States. You are a practicing Muslim. And a lot of folks woke up this morning with real tight faces about USC's decision to pull this young Muslim woman from delivering the valedictorian speech. Do you have a reaction?
I am ashamed. I earned my PhD at USC. I'm ashamed that, I used to proudly hold up Trojan, right? Fight on, right? I'm ashamed that they would do something like this. And I think that all of us who are alumni, all of us who have ties to USC need to pressure the university and say that we won't take this kind of treatment of folks. We know that this wouldn't have happened if this were a Zionist speaker, if this were a pro-Israel speaker. And she wasn't even selected to speak on the topic, although she has a right to and has really a duty to talk about the state of the world. She was selected as valedictorian because of all of the accomplishments that she achieved. When you say the criteria is having a 3.98 GPA or above, I mean, think about what it takes to excel that way. And to also have a stance that demands freedom and an end to genocide is just the kind of person we should be elevating, not silencing.
I mean, the one thing that is just absolutely a head scratcher to me, and for folks that may not be familiar, at USC, like so many other schools, you can develop your own major or minor, interdisciplinary major or minor in consultation with the university. And it appears that's what she did. Her minor is in resistance to genocide. And so what I'm scratching my head about is, well, wait a minute, she got that education from USC, right? This isn't, somebody who just came from Mars and landed on USC's campus, right? That it's typical for a lot of students who have views on a whole range of things, so whether it is, the state of the world, whether it is the state of civil and human rights, trans rights, whatever it might be, there are a lot of folks out there that have opinions that other folks may not share. And so how worried are you that this is not just another example, but there are growing examples of folks in positions of power sort of picking and choosing, whose voices get platformed and whose voices don't?
Right. Well, what we're starting to see in university systems is really kowtowing to what they perceive as donor interests, right? I can imagine that USC is imagining that, well, maybe we'll get some of our funding pulled if we have someone who's actually speaking out from the position of the majority of this country, right? We know the vast majority of Americans believe in a permanent ceasefire. I think the current polling is at 70%. But there are a few moneyed interests that say, no, we want to silence that. And so I think that universities that really kowtow and silence their students and faculty and community because they want these big donors to keep giving them money, I think that's hugely problematic and is counter to what university education is supposed to be. Really, when students come to us, and I say us because I'm a professor, right? What we should be doing is building their critical thinking skills, building their ability to provide analysis, building their ability to really look at the world around them and figure out where they want to stand, where they want to be, and what kind of change they want to make in the world. That's what, the best of higher education is. And instead, it sounds like the way that these academic structures are moving is really towards an indoctrination into a particular way of thinking that benefits those who already have power.
Well, we're certainly seeing that word thrown around on all sides of the political spectrum, folks accusing folks of indoctrination, whether we're talking about it from a DEI perspective or germane to this conversation. Moving on, in terms of the state of the world, I want to get your reaction to this aid bill that seems stalled in Congress right now. You have members of the House Republican caucus that are, really threatening to oust Speaker Johnson in an effort to scuttle the potential of any aid package to Israel, to Gaza, to Ukraine from making it out of Congress. Have you been tracking it? And what would you encourage members of Congress to do related to this aid package?
I would encourage members of Congress to remember again that the majority of this country is vehemently opposed to the genocide that's occurring in Palestine. That when this country funds weapons of war to Israel, and the majority of the weapons that are used by Israel to engage in the genocide of Palestinian people actually comes from the United States. When we do that, when this country does that, they are complicit in committing genocide. So I would encourage representatives who are elected by the people to actually listen to the people and say, we will not be complicit. We will not engage. We will not fund genocide. I'd also encourage them to think about that we've already spent hundreds of billions of dollars on war. And, I'm not a math professor, but I can divide, right? And I looked up, how much would it cost to house everybody in this country? And it would cost somewhere around $11 billion to house everybody in this country who's currently housed. Well, we're spending, the last aid package was $140 billion. So for less than 10% of what we're using to fund war, we could be funding housing. And if you think about all of the things that the people in their districts need, housing, healthcare, education, we could fund all of the things that people need by simply pulling those dollars back from war, which is, both immoral as well as out of step with what the majority of Americans want, right? And put them into the things that we all want, that we all know will keep our communities safe, will allow our young people to thrive. And so it's just a bad look. It's a bad spend to be spending, again, hundreds of billions of dollars on war when people are living unhoused, uncovered from healthcare, when they don't have funding for education. That's what dollars should be used for.
And, a lot of protest is afoot out there. Just earlier this week, we saw mass protest on the Golden Gate Bridge. We saw mass protest in Chicago and so many other places across the country protesting for a ceasefire in Gaza right now. In about a minute, what's your reaction to the Supreme Court's decision to really abolish the right to mass protest in 3 states? I know you've done work in Louisiana, in Mississippi, in Texas. Well, those states are no longer safe to organize mass protests. The Supreme Court announced that it would not hear the McKesson versus Doe case. And so in effect, that lower court decision remains in effect. In about a minute, what's your reaction to that?
I think that the point of protest is we don't ask permission to protest. And so if they don't want us protesting, then they should create conditions where we don't have to, right? If they don't want Black Lives Matter protests, then they need to stop killing Black people. Police need to stop killing Black people. And so that is not going to slow us down as protesters, as advocates, as freedom fighters. We're going to continue to protest and be in the streets in Mississippi, in Louisiana, in all of the states where they say we can't, and in the states that are now under greater risk.
When we come forward, we're going to talk more with Dr. Melina Abdullah about the nuts and bolts of the West Abdullah platform. There were a number of things in there that caught my attention. I wanted to talk to you about that. Also, we want to get a sense of tone. What can we expect from the campaign moving forward when it comes to setting the tone in an election cycle that some folks say promises to be knocked down, drag out? We're talking to Dr. Melina Abdullah, co-founder of Black Lives Matter Grassroots and vice presidential candidate on the independent Cornel West Abdullah ticket, right here on A More Perfect Union.
Quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Trey Thomas. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Day 2 of jury selection in former President Trump's hush money criminal trial is underway. When entering the court today, Trump said experts are calling the trial a disgrace, and it should have been thrown out a long time ago. The U.S. is preparing new sanctions on Iran after they launched a weekend drone and missile attack on Israel. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen announced the move today at the International Monetary Fund and World Bank spring meetings. The University of Southern California is canceling its valedictorian speech this year due to security concerns. That's the latest. I'm Trey Thomas on your home for 24/7 news, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Save big during Spring Fest at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off, plus save an extra $150 on every $1,500 you spend on select major appliances. Valid through 4/17. Appliance savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for more details.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The attorney handling O.J. Simpson's estate has changed his mind about paying the civil lawsuit settlement to the families of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Malcolm Laverne, an attorney in Las Vegas, said last week after Simpson's death that the families would not get any part of the $33.5 million judgment that was awarded in 1995. None of the money has been given to the families after a judge ruled in their favor in the wrongful death lawsuit against Simpson. Laverne said he would begin the process of payments to the families based on Nevada law. Laverne did not disclose if Simpson's estate had enough money to cover the $33.5 million. Former Clippers star Blake Griffin announced his retirement today. Griffin played 8 of his 13 NBA seasons with the Clippers. He was a major attraction in the Clippers' Lob City era after the Clippers drafted him in 2009. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
If we're the ones disproportionately impacted by these climate catastrophes, why should we be silent? Turning up the volume all year long on the climate conversation for KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Without the ones like you who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. Visit jpmorganchase.com/racial equity and get the tools to help reach your financial goals.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number and put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey in conversation with Dr. Melina Abdullah. If that name sounds familiar, it's because she has been selected as the VP candidate on the Cornel West Melina Abdullah ticket for President and Vice President of the United States. We are delighted to have you here with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. And so let's dig a little bit into what you intend to do should you become the next president and vice president of the United States. I know there are a number of action items on your agenda, but there were a few that really stood out to me as being like very mainstream, if you call it. We call it that. For example, transform paid family leave to mandate a minimum of 6 months for fully paid time off. You all in your platform talk about national free pre-K childcare and removal of transgender exclusions and limitations from healthcare policies. You go on to talk about codifying voting rights for all incarcerated people and immediately reinstate voting rights and making Election Day a national holiday. I think a number of our leaders, learners, and listeners would be surprised to learn that, these are, main planks in your campaign platform. How come we're not hearing more about this?
Well, I think that a lot of people think that when we say Black Lives Matter, we mean solely addressing police violence against Black people. But when we birthed Black Lives Matter 10 and a half years ago, and me as an original member of Black Lives Matter, when we birthed it, we said it was to end state-sanctioned violence against Black people. And that means absolutely addressing police violence, absolutely holding police accountable, absolutely transforming public safety in this country. But state-sanctioned violence also occurs in the form of policy. So when you have policies where people live unhoused, that's state-sanctioned violence against Black people. When you have policies where women don't have body autonomy, that's state-sanctioned violence against Black people, right? When you have systems where you have to choose to not have a child because there are no resources for you when you do have a child, that is state-sanctioned violence against Black people. So our platform, and I love our platform, is truth, justice, and love. Truth, justice, and love. And so all of the areas around truth, justice, and love are part of that, from paid family leave to one of the things that you didn't mention is we believe in free period products for women, for people who have periods, right? So it's really important that we do that. We understand that folks who are incarcerated should have voting rights. They don't cease to become human beings. We don't buy into the language of the 13th Amendment that it's legal to enslave people as a condition of incarceration. And so those are the kinds of things that are on our platform, as well as transformative justice, as well as education that includes liberatory models of ethnic studies.
Now, as I walk through your platform, and folks can go online to view it in more detail, but there were a number of things that sort of struck me as really interesting. There were things in there that were a part of the fight for the Build Back Better bill. Remember when President Biden and Vice President Harris and Democrats were pushing for some what they believe was transformative legislation? There were a number of things that are in your platform right now that were also a part of what they were pushing for in that bill. Did you all support Build Back Better? And if it was reintroduced, would you all support it?
Well, we absolutely support the building of greater infrastructure, right? Absolutely. One of the things that we believe in, though, is really strong union jobs with a livable wage. So, what you'll see in our platform is a $27 an hour federal minimum wage, right? So, as we create jobs through infrastructure packages, as we create jobs by redirecting funds away from war and towards investment in the districts and in this country and in, the people of this world, we also believe that it's important that people can make a living with just one job, right? That people can afford rent with just one job. So yes, we believe in the development of infrastructure, and that's always at the top of an agenda, right? And the jobs that come with the development of infrastructure need to be livable wage jobs so that we have thriving families and communities.
So, speaking of thriving families and communities, you grew up in the Bay Area. I'm from the Bay Area. The current Vice President of the United States is from the Bay Area. You all share more than that in common. You're both AKAs. You both enjoy Too Short's music. You both are Howard Bisons, right? Howard alums, right? And so I'm sure you expect there are going to be a lot of comparisons between the two of you between now in November. What can we expect in terms of the tone, at least on your side, during this presidential cycle? We certainly don't want to see, anybody, particularly, two Black women, from the Golden State, from our community, sort of going at it in the race for the White House. What can we expect on your side in terms of tone during this campaign?
Well, let me just say, I don't know why. I've known you for at least 20 years. I don't know why I didn't know you were from the Bay until just this moment. I met you in LA.
That's
I
right.
didn't realize you were, where are you from?
I grew up in the East Bay. I grew up in the Concord Walnut Creek area.
Oh, Concord. Okay. Concord Walnut Creek, right. When I was growing up, Black people couldn't, because I'm a little older than you, right?
Uh-huh.
To
You don't look it, though.
Oh, well, thank you. I remember one of my first experiences in Concord, and it wasn't good because we didn't live in Concord when I was growing up, right? So I'm from specifically East Oakland, right? So she's from the Bay, I'm from East Oakland, from a working class neighborhood, and that's putting it nicely, in East Oakland. Born to a Black mother's school teacher who, was raised by her as a single parent, and spent many afternoons sitting on the front porch with my mom. After she would get home from a full day at school, she would come and sit on the front porch and teach all the neighborhood kids how to read, right? And very blessed. And someone asked me this weekend about what moves me forward in this fight and struggle. And this was actually a very interesting room because it was a room where many of the politically connected and well-to-do Black folks were in Los Angeles. It was the Los Angeles Sentinel Awards. I received the Civil Rights Award from them. And their surprise guest was Kamala Harris. So that was really an interesting room. But they asked about what motivates me, and what motivates me is to make my mother proud, right? So my mom was also in that audience. And so I seek to be the kind of vice presidential candidate that makes my Black single mother, public elementary school teacher who hails from Beaumont, Texas, proud, and move from that place. I seek to move from a space that acknowledges I'm not just from the Bay Area or the East Bay. I'm specifically from East Oakland, from the flatlands of East Oakland, from specifically a neighborhood that we used to call Funktown. And if you get me long enough, I'll even throw up a hand sign for it. But I loved my neighborhood growing up, right? And I seek to represent the people of my neighborhood, where there was a lot happening in the neighborhood. I was born in 1972. came of age in the early 90s, right? Late 80s, early 90s, when crack cocaine was hitting my neighborhood especially hard. And people will often talk about that period and talk about some of the real traumas we suffered as a result of crack cocaine being flooded into our neighborhoods. But sometimes we neglect the beauty of the neighborhood as well. That I lived in a neighborhood where my mom sat on the front porch and taught the kids to read, where my grandpa lived across the street and would open up his garage every single summer, and we would have Polly Pop, and my grandma would make tea cakes, and we would have Bible lessons and run foot races, right? Where I had a Chinese grandma around the corner, and we would sit there. I would go there sometimes after school, and we would sit, and she would feed me tea and almond cookies, right? Almond cookies will get me every time. And so I seek to represent from that space, and am honored to be running alongside Cornel West, who's this towering intellectual, and also has a deep love for the people, as do I. And I think that's what bonds us most, is the deep love for our people, the deep love for the people, and recognition that this country has to invest in the people.
So we heard it here first. Dr. Melina Abdullah says, look, she is running to make her mama proud and her grandmama proud, her neighborhood from back in the Bay, East Oakland to be specific, proud. And we are delighted that you have made the time to be with us here today. Good luck to you and to Dr. West on the campaign trail. Before I let you go, I've just got to ask you one last question. You know, there are a number of folks out there that believe that it's possible that even if you all come short of winning, you all could win a number of votes that could potentially throw the election to one candidate or another. What do you say to folks that are uneasy about your campaign because they believe that you might be a spoiler in the 2024 election?
I know that that's the language that those who are entrenched in the duopoly tried to use. Let me say first, for Californians, there's absolutely no risk of that ever happening, right? Because we live in a winner-take-all system, which means that California always goes blue in presidential races. And so really what this is an investment in third parties, right? We know that neither the Republican Party or Democratic Party are representing what the majority of Americans really want. And this is an opportunity for us to say we want more democracy by having more choices on the ballot, right? So that's the truth for California. I'm also, my training is as a political scientist, and I've been scouring all of the publications to see if there's any data to support the idea of spoilers. And so far, neither I or any of my colleagues have been able to find data that supports the idea that third-party candidates are spoilers. Instead, what we found data on is that third-party candidates actually mobilize new voters. They mobilize Gen Z voters can be expected to vote for third-party candidates. You know, I have two of them myself, a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old, who'll be voting for the first time in a presidential election in November. And they would never vote for the person they called Genocide Joe, and absolutely wouldn't vote for the devil incarnate in Donald Trump, right? But they're now saying they intend to vote for the top of the ticket because Dr. West and I offer other options. So I'd love for folks to really be armed with real information rather than being motivated by a fear that only feeds a two-party system that limits democracy.
Where can people go quickly to support your candidacy and to learn more about your platform?
Sure. CornelWest2024.com. That's CornelWest 2024.com. And they can follow me at Doc Melly Mel on all social media.
Our thanks to Dr. Melina Abdullah. Good luck on the campaign trail. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, it includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste, so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any
I
disease.
spray and scrub, but the soap scum in my bathtub is still there.
I spray and scrub, but the burnt sauce on my stovetop sticks around.
Sprays can leave grime behind, but new Mr. Clean Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser combines the scrubbing power of an eraser with the cleaning power of Dawn to melt away tough messes on contact.
Just wet, squeeze, and erase.
Stop spraying, start erasing, and clean with more magic than ever with new Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk. We're unapologetically progressive and we don't black down.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Time for the quiet part out loud. Johnson's leadership, that's Speaker Johnson's leadership, is under threat in the House over the foreign aid bills. That's right. A second Republican member is supporting an effort to oust the House Speaker, Mike Johnson. That's right. Representative Thomas Massey, a Republican from Kentucky, says that he's co-sponsoring a resolution by Georgia Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene as frustration grows among blocks of conservative members at Johnson's proposed foreign aid package. The Kentucky Republican pointed to 3 areas where he feels Johnson has, let his conference down. The latest spending package, the House's renewal of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act that allows for warrantless surveillance of foreign nationals inside the U.S., and aid to Ukraine. Johnson announced on Monday, you might remember, plans to move forward on 4 separate bills to address foreign aid, including to Israel and Ukraine. Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, in the White House haven't ruled out backing Johnson's plan. Massey says that he asked Johnson to resign during a closed-door meeting with GOP House members on Tuesday morning, in which case Massey told reporters after the meeting he said he would not. Isn't it strange that the folks that say, hey, give us more power, in fact, put one of our own in the White House and give us the power to govern this country, can't even seem to govern themselves in the U.S. House of Representatives? Believe it or not, this very question is on your ballot in November. And choosing to sit it out, choosing not to lean into this, could have serious consequences that all of us will feel. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Do it all by yourself, baby girl. What's your name?
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
I can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. You all have heard me talk very openly on this show before about my older brother, James, who died by suicide. So you know that it's an issue, it's a concern, it's a crisis that always registers on my radar. And so when I saw this NPR article, I had to share it with you. The headline read, suicides make up majority of gun deaths, but remain overlooked in gun violence debate. You might remember that just yesterday, we had the deputy director of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention right here on the show, talking about some of the work that they're doing to lower incidents of gun violence in this country, some of the creative ways in which they're going about it. And while that work continues, it's important that we lift up a part of the work that maybe you don't hear so much about. I'm talking about gun death suicides. When gun violence in America is discussed, people typically think about mass shootings, homicides, or even domestic violence. But in fact, the majority of gun-related deaths in the United States are suicides. In 2023, more than 42,967 people died from gun-related injuries, and over half of those deaths were suicides. This is a crisis. We know that there's no community that's spared here, and that there are a lot of families that are subject to this crisis, and so we want to make sure that we're lifting up some information that you can trust. We know that there's a study that finds that 87% of people make that decision and act on it in the same day, and about a quarter of people within 5 minutes. That's how quickly. And experts say that what happens in those impulsive moments is people use what they have available to them. And it comes on very quickly. And if there's nothing available, the impulse can pass. As with other forms of gun violence, raising awareness around suicide, it means having conversations about the very sensitive and often uncomfortable topics. And so wherever you are listening to us today, create a safe space, a brave space for people to share what's on their heart and what's on their mind. You never know, you might save a life. And if you or someone you know may be considering suicide or is in crisis, call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Again, you can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. We'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the Village that helps us to produce A More Perfect Union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer extraordinaire, Miles Lowe, our show producer, Robert Battles, our podcast publishing guru, Odell Bodie, and of course, each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. Also, big thanks to VP candidate, I got to get used to that, Dr. Melina Abdullah, for joining us here. We intend to extend an invitation to all the major candidates that are running for president and vice president of the United States, including the current occupants of the White House. All are welcomed here because it takes all of us to build a more perfect union. Remember, don't panic, organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and you've been listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk.